And we are live. Welcome everyone to episode number 21, 21.
We legal.
That's right, episode 21. Welcome to the Risk Reward Show presented by Risk Reward Media. My name is Cris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk, and I am joined by
Mr. Reward.
Derrick Stroman, and we are here to help you find the upside in your professional, business, and financial lives. For today's topic, we will be talking about post COVID-19 reopening. We are fully open.
We outside.
Definitely outside, and we want to explore the peaks and the valleys of reopening. And as a lead-in to our main topic, we will, as usual, open with our weekly rewind. And I know in the past couple of weeks, Derrick, we've had a lot of sports themed weekly rewinds.
Mhm.
But this week's weekly rewind will be focused on a lot of music and entertainment. So I will start off by a little party that I went to last week.
More than a little party.
Little party. So I was invited to celebrate the life and music of the queen of hip hop soul, Mary J. Blige. And this was with the help of Amazon Prime Video. So for those who don't know, Mary's documentary, My Life, was released last Friday on Amazon Prime Video. And on a Wednesday, I got a chance to go to jazz at Lincoln Center. So right at Columbus Circle, and had a great time, with the premiere of the documentary. And then, of course, the after party with Mary, just having fun with family and friends. Fab came out to celebrate,
Okay.
and it was just a great time to be had. And again, I want to thank Mary, not just for like decades of great music, but also, having that courage to share her story and creating like a big event out of it, so that we could all celebrate. And I want to thank my plug, who shall remain nameless. Thank you for that. And again, Prime Video. I mean, it's so interesting to see the business of streaming. And I was having fun, and this was like the first time it felt like New York was truly open, because
Mhm.
it was a movie and a party at the club in the same night. And to see
Yeah.
both go down and like be a part of it was just amazing. And it was the first time I felt like New York was really open.
Yeah.
I will add really quickly, the insights that I got. And again, both of us are making this push into more content creation, and getting to understand like the business of content. I got great insights from folks who are in film, in media, in streaming, about the business of documentaries, and how
Mhm.
oftentimes they're actually, they don't make money. And one big motivation to create documentaries is actually just prestige.
Mhm.
And when I think about it from Amazon Prime Video side, even if this was a net loss in money as far as the actual creation of the documentary, well, what they've done in pulling in, Mary's fans as an audience into Amazon Prime Video is, that could lead to more money down the line. So it in a sense, it acts like as a loss leader for Amazon Prime Video. But this is just more in this trend of going straight to streaming. And and having your own content on your own platform.
Dope. I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to see the doc yet, but I did listen to her interview on the Breakfast Club. I forget, it was sometime last week she was on, but um from what I heard, the doc itself is like, I mean you can tell me, but it's more about like her sharing her story and like the healing process that she actually went through. Because I literally remember probably being like 5 or 6, and my mom just playing Mary back to back, back to back, back to back. So that's how I got used to her. I'm like, oh, this song, like this person makes my mom happy in terms of singing, so I'm gonna like her. So ever since then, that's been my first experience with her. But as you get older, you start to understand where the music came from. And there's like a saying that the best music comes from like heartbreak. But I feel like for her, it was a lot more than heartbreak, because of the stories that I've heard just from her talking on the Breakfast Club about the stuff that she went through. So I'm happy that she's getting her flowers. And something that was pretty cool that she mentioned was that she really didn't know how big she was, like how much love she had from everybody. So now she's okay with that, and now she knows that. So I'm happy that she's able to get her flowers now. But I'm definitely going to check that out, because I know my mom was like, "Oh, Mary J has like some type of movie out." I was like, "Yeah." So me and her will definitely watch that. But um, good move on Amazon in terms of making it like an Amazon exclusive thing. I feel like they've done that a lot, and I feel like a lot of these streaming platforms are doing that too. I know like another, I mean, not well. This one wasn't something I was hype about, but Hulu, when they did the documentary on 6ix9ine, like that kind of brought people there really quickly. Amazon, but Netflix, when they have like their shows only, that brings people there too. But Amazon is not, it doesn't have that big of a name yet in terms of streaming, but I feel like they are coming close, because there's a couple shows that they do have that are only on Prime that are really good. Like The Boys is good. There's another one called shoot, I can't think of the name, but it's basically like Afterlife or something like that. But those are two shows that I think that are really good. So I'm pretty sure Amazon has a lot more up on their sleeves with regards to content.
Oh, definitely, and they surely have the money
Yeah.
to either license, buy via license, or like to produce it themselves. If I had to sort of critique the documentary itself, and I have had a mini documentary shot of me.
Mhm.
So I know the process a little bit of being in front of the camera, and I could relate to Mary and how guarded she was. So it wasn't deep. Like she didn't go terribly deep into what would have been the most painful parts of her life, but she went far enough where it made you want to know more, but also you can connect the dots.
Mm.
So I loved seeing footage that I never had access to because I didn't have cable, growing up. And you were saying you remember 5 or 6. For me, I'm a little older, so that would be, junior high for me, right? So I remember Mary coming out. What's the 401 is by far my favorite. So her first album is my favorite, the original and the remix album. Like those are my
Mm-hmm.
favorite joints from her. And she was dating KC from Jodeci, and I was a huge Jodeci fan too.
Mm-hmm.
But their relationship was very volatile behind the
Yeah.
scenes. So seeing a bit of that story play out in the documentary it wasn't eye opening because I was a fan, so I knew what was going down. Uh, so I wanted something deeper, but at the same time, in having gone through that experience, I know that there were areas of my life I didn't want to go deep on, and she
Mm-hmm.
made her boundaries pretty clear. So I would look at the documentary not as this in-depth exploration of her life, but rather a true celebration of her music and her life and
Mm-hmm.
what she has overcome. So that's how I would, you know, view that.
All right. I'll definitely take a look at it.
Yes, it's definitely worth watching, especially if you already have Amazon Prime. Like you paid for it, go
Yeah.
enjoy some good content. Might make you cry. You'll definitely sing. Maybe you'll dance. But it is like, you know, in growing up in the neighborhoods that we grew up in, you couldn't escape Mary even if you wanted to. Like her
Exactly.
music, and you know, to be what, it's close to 3 decades like doing this
Still on top.
yeah, is amazing. So it was great to see her. She looked great too. That outfit when she came out on stage, we put this out on social media. That outfit, man, I was like, oh my god, like it is her day. Like she made it
Yeah.
her day.
Let's
Um,
go, Mary.
yeah. Speaking of making it a day for a musical artist, I know you checked out the verses
Oh
this
yeah.
past weekend. So yeah,
Yeah.
give us your review.
So the verses was between Soldier Boy and Bow Wow. Um, the lead up to it was, I feel like, was the best. Like I feel like Soldier Boy himself, he's just like some type of character. So he's always gonna make jokes, crack
Trash
jokes,
talk back and
trash
forth.
talk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bow Wow, you this. He like the whole through the whole verses, he was just calling him Pee Wee, which had me rolling. But overall, I think the fact that I grew up with that music, like it brought back like a whole bunch of moments. But I will say Bow Wow smoked Soldier Boy. Uh, Soldier Boy does have hits, but Bow Wow has like he has a much bigger catalog. And something that, you know, of course, you know, he has music that's like really good from he when he was like what 8 or 10 or something like that. But something that stuck out with me about that verse is, I mean, during like the songs that like when they would, you know, trash talk and stuff like that, Bow Wow would say something like, you know, I'm gonna play a song from my #1 hit movie when I was 8 or when I was 12, and I'm standing there like, damn, he really did have movies. He had Like Mike. He was in like a few, I think probably like a couple other ones, but I know Like Mike was like his big one. But I mean, like, damn, like he was really in a movie with a #1 song for that movie, not even off of his album. And then that made me like really think of like the people like around him, like JD, So Def, that whole squad. I'm like, yo, the mentorship there is so real because not only was he set up from young, but now he's at a place where he's able to have like his own, you know, businesses. I think, well, if you go to any like beauty supply store, you'll find his face on do-rags. So the fact that he has that in literally every beauty supply store I go into, I see his face. So I'm like, damn, like he has that reach. And I just didn't understand how much of the business person he really was. I think for me it was more about just, you know, music and like movies. But when he was saying stuff like that, I was like, that's what it should really be like. Like you should always, like, if you're young and you have like some type of talent, you should definitely make sure that you're surrounded with people like that. And it's good that the people around there were looking to make sure that his life was much better.
So
But Bow Wow
that's
won that.
yeah. So that's what I go to, like that mentorship component.
Yeah,
He had people looking out for him. I mean, his name came from Snoop Dogg, right?
exactly.
So he was sort of christened, right? And I don't know, like again, I don't know the inner workings and like music and movies. Notoriously, what folks don't know is that a lot of your favorite artists have relatives who are decision makers in the entertainment industry, so it's a little bit easier. But to have like these stars look out for you as a little kid, and yes, you had talent, right?
Yeah.
And folks saw that. I'm glad that, you know, folks who rise up when they're young can still sustain like their wealth, because we hear a lot of stories about folks who lose it all when they're older because they were
Yeah.
irresponsible. And you know, even though Shad has done some things or has been public on some things that may have affected his reputation, it looks like he's doing decently. And it brings me back to literally the peak of 106 in Park.
Mr.
So
106 in the Park.
yeah,
That's one of his names.
yeah, right. So people think of 106 in Park as like, oh, it's the show. Like, no, it's the cross street that I would sometimes walk by. I would see like the students who I was tutoring when I was at City College be online trying to get in, right? Or there were times I was trying to get in myself, right? I was trying to get the, trying to get the plug, use the plug to get in. But it was the hottest thing. And there was this moment, you had to be there in New York to just feel it.
Yeah.
And you just see like preteen and teenage girls just out on that line, just trying to get in. And it was a moment. And he was one of the biggest figures of that moment. That probably wasn't my most enjoyable time listening to music though. Admittedly, but like as far as impact, like his impact was definitely felt, even though I wasn't like the biggest fan.
Yeah, Bow Wow definitely has hits, because there was some songs I was like, I didn't know, like I forgot that he was on this song. But I mean, don't sleep on Soldier 2.
Oh yeah,
Soldier got dances.
That's right.
Soldier got juices, the lemonades, Xboxes, all of that. Big Draco.
That's dope, and I think this is a good transition to a couple of other musical legends that we grew up with. So T-Pain was
rapper turned singer,
right? Was in a documentary, I believe, on Netflix, right? And
yeah,
he confessed that he fell into depression after Mr. Usher Raymond, Usher with the Usher Bucks from our previous episode. He called him for a meeting at the back of an airplane. And the context is, T-Pain just looked up to Usher like a lot of artists would. And Usher just tells T-Pain, like, hey, your use of auto-tune, it ruined it for real singers like me. And it killed music. And T-Pain sort of admitted that on camera. It came out, and he's been contextualizing it on Twitter, right? It seems like everybody's all good, but like the fact that Usher would do that seems like an Usher move, actually. Right? You've heard stories like behind the scenes that feels like an Usher move. But the fact that T-Pain took that so hurtfully, I don't even know if that's a word, but hurtfully is what came out when I read that. I was like, wow, to look at your idol and for your idol to be like, you know what, you killed it for me. Like that would be devastating to hear too.
Yeah. When I first saw the post, my immediate thought was that Usher is like a hater. I feel like he was really, really hated, because music, even now, it definitely goes to like its changes. Not too long ago, you had a big talk about the actual rappers versus like the SoundCloud rappers, like who's much better and stuff like that. And it really gets to a point where things are definitely things will change. And then even Usher, he has a song using the same type of the same thing. What song was it? Yeah.
It's OMG.
Yeah, OMG. Like he's using the auto tune. So what? But going just like hearing that, I was like mumble rap is something that's big right now. I don't consider it as a mumble rap, but the music does definitely change. And I feel like the best artists are embracing that and not trying to like bash it. So for Usher to say that, I think he was just hating, because now he's at a point where he's like, damn, like I really gotta find something new to kind of get my fans going. And T-Pain found that new thing, which was making his voice sound different. And I feel like now you have rappers that are using their voices in like different ways a lot more now, rather than be just like rapping and singing, using some type of like other things to make their voice changes. But Usher was a hater for that, man.
Well, yeah. So if you think about the time period, this is post Confessions, and Confessions is peak Usher.
Yeah.
So he felt the pressure on the business side and like the music reputation side, how are you going to follow that up? How are you going to make as much money?
Exactly.
And you know, it, and music just changes quickly sometimes. And T-Pain found his lane,
Yep.
and he had hit after hit after hit. And
Yeah.
and I can see why someone of Usher's stature would feel that way. I'm not sure it was phrased in the most kind way by Usher
Mhm.
to T-Pain. So yeah, if you're a little bit older in the game, like you can voice your disagreements, but don't be that old guy. Like, get off my lawn. Don't be that person. Like, I don't like a lot of the music, but I'm not gonna like overly hate on it. I
Yeah.
just won't listen to it or like buy it.
Mhm.
But let folks figure out what the next move is, and there's still talent out there. And by the way, music, and I hear this a lot from Questlove. Music was actually never based on talent anyway. There's so many talented people who never get put on. But
Mhm.
just like when we talk about jobs and securing that next opportunity, your connections matter a lot.
Yep.
Music industry is very, very connected.
Mhm.
Once you get in, you get more access and you get more opportunity. And it may not be closely tied to the amount of talent you actually have as a singer or as a rapper. So
Yeah.
that's the way the game goes.
But speaking of opportunity and listening, you'd had a guest appearance on the Lucky Boys podcast. You mind
Yes.
telling us about that?
Yes, I can't say too much because the episode is still being edited,
Mhm.
but I want to give a shout out to Norm who reached out. Will also, who's the co-creator of Lucky Boys podcast. They do a lot of great work, and these are two Asian creators. So I particularly am sort of looking into how they've grown a really good audience, a big audience. Like you look at all their views on YouTube for their past episodes, how they've grown it organically over the past 2 years.
Mhm.
And, I see that as, wow, I hope we can get to that point where we've grown our audience to that extent. And they bring on great guests, and I happen to be one of their latest guests.
There you go.
I got deep in terms of what I covered, and it was a free flowing conversation. We did talk about the Risk Reward show, right?
Mhm.
What was the impetus with that, and how you and I came up with the idea of it. I talked about how I started Grant Answers, and I talked a lot about in terms of my immigrant rights advocacy, and then the intersections, which is where I think the most valuable parts of all of our stories lie. So, how my immigrant experience, I talked about growing up in rough neighborhood. There's gonna be, if it doesn't get edited out, there's gonna be uh, two highlights in terms of memories that I had where I was uh, kind of, I had a knife to my throat in
Mm.
one when I was a kid. So this is the type of neighborhood I grew up in, right? And it was more like a playful thing. Like who does that? What kind of neighborhood do that,
Hey,
right?
friend. Let me
Yeah,
put this.
yeah, right. And then uh, there was another time where uh, three dudes, tried to jump me, and I ended up turning the tables and chasing them down after I fought them off, which was probably not a smart thing to do. You should just like take the win and like go home after you fought off three people, not chase them down.
You was trying to finish the job, and that's
Yes,
all.
yes. So that was not a smart move, but and the reason we talked about that was also like stop Asian hate. So
Mhm.
uh, great conversation, and I hope people really understand what we're trying to do here, but more importantly, why I do the work that I do, why I push really hard, and why social impact really means a lot to me. So yeah,
That's what's up. Shout
uh,
out to Will
Lucky
and
Boys.
Norm of the Lucky Boys. We really appreciate you having Chris on. We'll definitely, do what we can in terms of uh, getting that app out, just so
Yes,
we could all see.
yes, we're even now. So we've been on another podcast
There you
each.
go. One for
So
one.
there we go, doing a trade off. So that encapsulates what's been a pretty busy week for both of us.
Mhm.
But that should, warm us up for our main topic, which is we're open.
We
We are
outside.
open.
We
And
outside.
New York is officially open, and we're trying to figure out what the peaks and valleys are. And because at the Risk Reward Show, we focus on finding the upside in, your professional, business, and financial lives, I wanted to start off with McKinsey's reporting. So McKinsey is, I would argue, the top uh, global consulting firm. And you can access this on LinkedIn, but I will share my screen, um, a part of their report. So I think it's really important to examine the trends that folks would have. Um, Folks have, really identified for after work, for after COVID. So we realize here that remote work is pretty much here to stay. So in this McKinsey report, uh, about 25% of workers could work 3 days a week remotely on a long-term basis. And then when we talk about trends like automation, the uptick is clear, but it's also permanent. I would argue here that one of the biggest trends is I think we're rising towards a peak in job transition, so job switching. So you might hear in the news folks who aren't coming back to their $12 an hour jobs, right? There are folks who, there are companies like American Airlines who were so understaffed they canceled flights, and they disappointed a whole lot of travelers, but they just didn't have enough staff to carry on with those flights. So these trends are, some of it might be, reaching its peak. Some of these trends are also on the valley side. So let's talk about this idea of occupations that are decreasing. So office support, right? And I know, Derrick, you're going to talk about automation in a bit, but office support is tied to the rise in automation. So the more we automate, the less office support staff we're going to need. On the other end, when we think about, working from home and longer term effects, and especially like post COVID, one of the biggest areas of possible growth will be in healthcare and wellness. And that might be a nice indication of where the talent that we serve might want to go in terms of career paths. That might be one of the highest growth, fastest growth areas. So if folks out there who are looking into health professions, into like various roles, but in healthcare, like it might be the best move right here, right now. So Derrick, take it away as far as like your thoughts on where you see the peaks and valleys are of reopening.
Yeah. Something I just want to mention that, when we first spoke about this, we were, I guess, like focused on people like quitting and like the high numbers of quitting. I was reading an article from NPR that said almost 740,000 people in April quit like leisure and hospitality jobs. So anybody working in bars, hotels, airlines, like 740,000 people quit. So that alone goes back to what you said earlier. Like, I don't want to be making, part-time money, not knowing that if this was to happen again, my job is gone. I'd rather go to something that's more stable, something that's rising. And also people are starting, I feel like COVID was, I mean, I feel like COVID had like it's good in it because it gave a lot of people time to actually think about like what's really, good for them, as well as what's good for, like their professional lives and all that. So something that you mentioned earlier is like the mental health part. I think I feel like now that you know the fact that jobs can be, now that like remote work is something that's like, live, and it's not going like anywhere no time soon. You don't need to actually be in the state where like you're working at. So one of the peaks for companies is that, one, it allows you to recruit from different places. uh the reverse side to that is that now, talent, you like, it's really, I feel like for the companies that are good, they will pay for that talent, but for the companies that just need that talent like right away, they're going to go for the cheapest person. So for companies, I do see this as like a plus for them, because now they can recruit from, the different areas, different countries, and states. But for the employee or the person who's, looking for that job, their work-life balance is 10 times more crucial than it was ever before. They want to be able to spend time with their families. They don't feel like, working the 9 to 5 is something that needs to actually be done. Maybe working in like the mornings, taking a break, and then working and then finishing up at nighttime is something that I am do. If I can't get to everything I need to do, but I want to enjoy the nice weather, I would probably go outside for like an hour or two, then just come back and just, just knock out whatever I need to do. But one of the biggest peaks, I think, is that like you mentioned earlier, the different sectors that will be growing. I think cyber security is like another sector that's going to be growing, especially, the fact that the office support from the report that you showed, like that, it was like minus like 27 or what on like the scale that they had. So me myself, I like to make sure that everything is, I don't need to do much. I can basically run a company just off like the Zapier, making sure that everything is all set. So an automation like that, I think, would be very, very helpful, and a lot of companies are leaning like towards that. You have a lot of companies that are popping up with like low code or no code. So that's also something that's big. And I think, well, yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's like pretty much it. I feel like the valleys and like the peaks really come down to the peaks for the job seeker, is that you're able to work from anywhere. You're taking your health more serious, mental and physical. For employers, I feel like now they're really gonna focus on like, if I need a person, what exactly do I need them for? I feel like the job descriptions coming out now are going to need a lot more specific, compared to, we just need somebody to just help us. Like, what does that actually mean? Like, no, I need to know exactly what I'm doing. I feel like now, I mean, like forever, the power has always been in the job seeker. It's just that now it's being seen.
So great points. I do want to follow up on a couple of things. When you mentioned low code and no code, and we serve coding bootcamp like organizations, right? Mm-hmm. I think the talent who are enrolled in coding bootcamps need to be very aware of that. You can't just acquire all those skills and at the end be like, all right, I know how to code, without understanding that the companies that you want to work for are trying to find ways to have, I guess, less coding real intensive processes and products.
Because it's costly. It's costly to hire someone to fix up a database, or fix up just anything. So Of course, me as a business owner, I'm definitely going to go with like what's the least expensive way.
Exactly. So I think everyone who's graduating from a coding boot camp should have that understanding and prepare themselves for this lifelong journey of learning, but also acquiring and developing skills that are not technical. So as someone who, again, I develop career curricula that focuses on the less technical skills a lot of the time. And if folks don't take that seriously, if folks don't take into account exercises to develop their creativity and even their sense of empathy, you may not be able to adapt really well with how companies are pivoting away from heavy coding products and projects. So that's one point I wanted to make. The biggest point I wanted to make here is, and again, as in running Grand Answers, we're always concerned about social impact and our enterprise clients. So there's a timetable that I would urge companies, organizations to keep in mind. So what it looks like to me is that we are ascending towards a peak in job switching. And my guess, my prediction will be that peak will be hit right around the time when the unemployment benefits that have been, given by the government start to wear off, or at least the highs from it start to weigh off, and folks become a little bit more concerned about their next step, their next paycheck, and that will be around the fall.
Yep.
My guess is September, October will be peak job switching in the near term. At the same time, I think we will also hit the valley in terms of the lack of desire to return to the office around the fall as well. I think when people start thinking about their upward mobility at a company, they're going to start to realize that, wait, promotions and connections are based on proximity, relationships, and the best way for me to do that is to be in the office and to speak to my supervisor one-on-one and have these deep conversations on how much impact I've had on a company, how much I want to grow within a company. There's just some things that Zoom can't translate in the most effective way. So my bet is in the fall, you will get this peak in job switching, and we're going to start to see a decline in people switching jobs and having so many jobs unfilled. I think that's going to level out towards the late fall and winter. And even though it's cold in winter time, I do think there's going to be this increasing desire to return to the office in the late fall and winter, so that folks can set up, the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years within an industry or within a company.
Yeah. When the unemployment benefits run out, I think that's going to be huge, and I'm happy that you brought that up. As for your prediction, we'll see. I mean, it sounds pretty right, but I do think for those who are on unemployment, it will be. I feel like if you're if you're in that boat right now, I think this would be the time for you to kind of start to build up those skills, just because like it's coming to end. So when that time does come, I feel like there's going to be like a higher. Well, I don't know if it's going to be like a hiring surge, but there's going to be too many job seekers for the amount of jobs that are out there, I think.
Yeah, I would be on that same uh, line of thinking. And again, for context, these are like these are long-term trends that we are talking about, but the peaks and valleys that I'm predicting are in the short and medium term.
Yeah.
I think the long-term trend has always been people job switching. In fact, I've cited this in previous episodes, but you actually, if you want to make more money, job switching every 2 years is one way to do it. And the data bears that out, right? And in terms of this idea of returning to the office, yes, in the long term, it's going to be at least hybrid, right? And the desire to not come back to the office and save time and money on commutes, that's always going to be there. I'm just saying that right now, no one wants to go back to the office. And I'm just saying that in the short and medium term, that's probably going to level out in the late fall. We just get used to things really quickly, and then we get tired of it, and then we want like the next thing, which is could be the opposite of what we wanted just several months ago. So
We be flip flopping. That's all it
yeah,
is. That's all
that's
it
another
is.
thing to keep in mind too. But also in terms of reopen, just the other dynamic here is the idea of travel and leisure, right? So I saw the prices for hotels and vacations, and
Ridiculous.
my question is, I think we're headed towards peak travel prices, and I know you were smart in planning out vacation ahead of time to
Mhm.
curtail that.
Yeah. So the vacation. I mean, luckily I got my tickets for a lot cheaper than what it is now. But these airlines, like airlines and hotels, they are charging maybe like 30% more than what the average price is, just because they know people will pay it because they want to get out. I went to Primark the other day. Primark, for those who don't know, Primark is like a like how do you explain Primark? But Primark has very not cheap things, but if you need t-shirts, like this t-shirt is Primark. If t-shirts, like shorts and stuff like that, sweatpants, you'll probably get it for like, $2, $3 here. But they were selling suitcases for like $60. I'm like, of all things, but I'm in and the crazy thing is that on the line you had about like three people with suitcases, not just one, but multiple suitcases. I'm just like, damn, like if I'm like, Primark is smart because their stuff is, it's inexpensive, it's not crazy, but their suitcases are average prices of suitcases. So that was one trend. I was like, okay, now that I see that, stores are selling, items for, much higher. I went to Walmart to buy like the travel items. All of that stuff was gone. The travel item section was cleaned out. I'm like, damn. But me personally, I can't wait to get out just because the world is kind of coming back to normal. But prices are at their peaks, I think, especially for traveling on planes and stuff like that. No one has really talked about cruises yet. I don't think no one's going to be doing a cruise for a very, very long time.
Oh yeah,
But
well, we got some issues with the cruises right now because some COVID passengers.
yeah, you see,
um,
exactly. Exactly, yeah. But travel is definitely at an all-time high. Like you said before, like airlines had to cancel flights because they couldn't keep up with what was happening. And I mean, of course, people like were quitting, but they just can't keep up with the amount of people that are traveling.
so for me, I'm a bargain hunter and also contrarian, and I had thought about planning a vacation earlier. I want to say like 6 months ago. We got good prices, right?
Mhm.
But I also didn't know like what the destination would be, right? And am I planning a vacation just to take advantage of a bargain? That didn't seem like a good reason to
Yeah.
take a vacation, right? And at the same time, I got a nice place to live in after having, gone through life not living in great places. But I love the amenities in my
Mhm.
building. So the same vacation pool pics that folks take, I just have to go upstairs. And and the way I see it is, you know what? I'm paying good money for my living situation, which has a vacation feel to it sometimes. So I may not be doing a lot of traveling until next year.
But is it all inclusive though?
Well, I mean, for me, my gym, the rooftop pool, that's part of the rent.
It's all inclusive.
So it is all inclusive. I paid for that. So I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, for me, traveling is about the people.
Mhm.
And I've also lived in, 3 different countries. I've had a chance to travel a lot of this country. So, I've gotten my travel itch filled when I was younger.
Mhm.
But for me, it's always been about the people that you spend time with. So if it's about the people for me, then let's just come over to the crib
Yeah.
and we'll have fun, right?
Mhm.
And that's why I don't have this like vacation bug right now.
Mhm.
I am going to Vegas around the time of my birthday, late fall. But Amazon is paying. So, right, I don't have to worry about that.
Free trip.
Right. It's free trip, right? So, and that's all expenses paid and then some. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, you know what? I can pass. And I've seen the crazy behavior of folks who felt like it looks like they've never traveled before. They don't know
Yeah.
how to act. So, I can wait. Like I'm patient enough, so I can pass on that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing on reopen is again entertainment. So we got the travel, but entertainment part, we like movies. We are planning something special for folks who have supported us, our individual companies, What Now Works, Grand Answers, and also the show. We're planning something in the works that we won't reveal just yet. But speaking of the box office, are we at the lows in going to movies? Because when I look at In the Heights as a highly promoted film, but only making less than 12 million in their opening weekend, which is like less than half of what, which is about half of what they were projected to
Mhm.
make. Like that's a disappointment, and that makes it less likely for another movie like In the Heights. So that's why it's crucial to
Yeah.
folks support the box office. But that is a bad showing.
Yeah. I know we spoke about this earlier, but Fast Nine was another movie that recently came out. And what they grossed 70 million.
70 million in the U.S. opening weekend.
Yeah. So I mean that's just Fast Nine. I feel like Fast Nine will always do numbers like that. And the point I was making before was that in in the Heights is like it's not as global as Fast Nine. I feel like if you're from here, from the city, this movie in the Heights is much more special to you. But if you just like action and what used to be like a car, racing movie, now it's he's in space or like wherever Dom is now. But um it's more action. It's very, very different. And I feel like action movies probably do a lot better than like the musicals too. But I did see Cruella in the theaters, and it wasn't packed at all. I think the theaters are still. I think we're still seeing like some like a big valley there, just because people don't feel comfortable going to the theater yet. There is a theater not too far where I live at, and I used to always go to matinees. Matinees is like the best time. No one's really there. It's not crowded and stuff like that, and that theater is still closed. So I do think once people are more comfortable going to the theater and being around people, there'll definitely be like a spike within these the numbers. But I think for right now, movies like Fast Nine that have like different parts to it, or if Black Widow's supposed to be coming out soon, like movies like that to where you kind of built up, they built you up for like years and years and years. Those movies are always going to do well, I think. So Fast Nine making 70 million. I am forget how much they made across seas too, because I know they were doing heavy like promo in China
International.
and stuff like that. But I know for them, like they're like that movie is always going to do numbers. Um, what I'm curious to know is how did In the Heights do on Disney? Because I saw it on Disney Plus. I didn't see it in theaters.
Is it Disney Plus or HBO Max?
HBO Max, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, and there were a lot of previews. Again, I had the pre-screening in April.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, and it's also a difference between like again the action movie versus a musical,
Yeah.
and one that's like culturally centered, more diverse. But you can't beat like fast cars, uh, guns, explosions.
Exactly.
That's a like Hollywood got this whole formula.
A predictable storyline.
Yeah,
You can't beat that.
yeah. So yeah, it's hard it's apples to oranges, but it is good to see like the differences in it. Um, so I think that's a good way for us to wrap up the main topic in terms of the peaks and valleys we have explored. I think there's enough for our audience to really think about. So
Mhm.
again, when it comes to their job prospects, their career prospects, like what trend should they be looking at, versus this idea of like what their travel and entertainment and leisure aspirations are, like where should they be putting their money, and investing their time. So it's something to chew on, and hopefully, we get some folks commenting again, like, follow, share, and comment. We'll definitely get back to you in terms of any questions you might have. Speaking of which, we have a quick open office hours question in terms of, this idea of a lot of our colleagues, our peers, coworkers, they're on extended vacations in the summertime. But some folks aren't, especially if you're early in your career, you have an early career role. You want to make the most impression, and part of that is working harder than everybody else. So, what suggestions do you have on folks getting ahead in their industry, in their role, in their company, while their supervisors or other coworkers are out partying?
I think this is like your time to shine. I mean, I feel like with any type of not problem, but any type of like a situation where you're being put to the front is a good time for you to kind of show what you're actually, great at. So something that I always do, just one, first and foremost, find out when this person is leaving. I think that like that's key because as people get ready for vacation, the week before they're already gone. So just being on top of like what projects are coming up, what what you can do to kind of make sure that that project is going. So whether if you have to take on calls, you have to make sure that certain things are done. Being ahead of that, and also just doing your work ahead, like ahead of time too. I know we're talking about what people can do if they're like supervisors are not going to be here, but I think it's also important for people to know if you do plan on going, making sure that everything is set up for your team too. I think that's key. I think that's where a lot of people kind of like fall off too. Like they want everybody to help them out, but when it's their turn to leave, they're like, oh well, I'm just gone. So I think it's very important for on both sides, just to make sure that you have the expectations set early, just so when that time does come, you know exactly what I'm to do. And honestly, I think if your supervisor is gone and you're kind of handling like their work, that looks so good for you because now they're in the like their mindset is saying like, oh, Cris, was taking care of everything while I was gone. Cris needs to be a supervisor now. So I feel like that's like, something for our audience to like really think about.
That was my main point.
Yeah.
Be a contrarian, right? If you want to stand out. So when others are resting, you should be going full throttle in terms of your work because it helps you get ahead. But taking on a supervisor's responsibilities and in a way, this is the idea, part of the idea of managing up. So managing up your supervisor also includes asking to take on one or two of their responsibilities while they are out enjoying non-work life. And if you do great work in their responsibilities, that's going to line you up for promotions down the line. Because if you do great work for somebody else's responsibilities, there might also be an assumption that you're consistently going to do work for your own responsibilities. And you engender the sense of trust by someone who has maybe a little bit more power than you. And now they can vouch for you. Now you become top of mind when talks of promotions come up, when roles that are never made public are talked about, and you might be the first in line for a new role that no one would ever know would exist. Yep. So that is what I would do in terms of taking advantage of the time when my superiors, my colleagues are on vacation and I'm, quote, stuck at work. I would make the most use of that time to get ahead and to make that incredible impression on my colleagues.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap it up. It reminds me of like sports. Like you know, there was a post I saw of Damian Lillard, like he's still practicing. Like regardless, like his team members, like who knows, but he's still practicing because he's getting ready for next season.
He may not even be on the same team and he's still practicing.
I know. Hope he's coming to New York, but that's another combo.
Yeah, that's definitely another episode. So that was a great open office hours question. So for folks, again, feel free to comment any questions you might have so that we can help you find the upside in your career, professional, business, financial lives. And that moves us into our final segment, the right move right now. So I have two. One, to fall in line with my perspective on our main topic in terms of peak travel. For me, I would actually hold off on booking new travel until fall. I think that's when you'll start to see prices revert back to the mean and you'll get better bargains. And, you know, Tulum isn't going anywhere. Like you'll get there, right? Your whole neighborhood's been there. Don't worry about it. Like, it's okay.
For real. Everybody's been there.
Right. I feel bad for like actual residents of Tulum, if there are any left. Yeah. And then my second right move right now, and this is a personal one, right? And again, I'll make this clear. Anytime we talk about stocks or options, any sort of securities, cryptocurrency, we only do this for educational and informational purposes only, right? This is not a recommendation for you to buy or sell any security. But I will reveal to our audience today that I put over $5,000 down on SoFi. SoFi is a fintech company, right? But I didn't put the 5K down on stock. My name is Mr. Risk.
Options, baby.
So I went with about $5,000 worth of options.
There you go.
And I bought it at, I bought it in three parts. So 3 lots. And I'm up 40% on just today. I bought it at around, between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this was because today was the lockup expiration for SoFi. So insiders because it came newly public. So for insiders who wanted to sell the shares that they had before SoFi went public, today was the expiration date. So it has taken a dip over the past few days in anticipation of a lot of insiders selling. I tracked it very carefully over the past few days. I saw it go from like 21 to high 17. So once it broke 18, I was like, you know what? Let's make that first purchase. And I
Hmm.
made a couple of other purchases. And yes, this was a big chunk and a risky chunk of money because I'm doing it through call options. And I was like, you know what? The risk reward here, right, is pretty good. And again, this is the essence of our show, right? Risk reward show. I was like, you know what? Let's put my money where the show is.
Yeah.
So, so we'll see how this trade goes, but I'll be holding this for like 3 to 4 weeks because I
Mhm.
bought August options and I'm already at 40%. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, damn. I mean, for my right, I mean, before I get to my right move right now, I just want to highlight again how important like that little bit of info made you do that move, knowing that people are going to sell their shares. I'm like, and I feel like that really goes to the point of doing, research and stuff like that. Like it's more than just knowing charts, but it's knowing what is happening inside and outside of the company. So kudos to you on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. For me, my right move right now, like I was literally thinking about it this entire time we were speaking. I mean, normally I say, Bitcoin, I can't find it right now, but she's
It's
here
at it's
somewhere.
at 34,000, around 34,000 right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So I mean, I feel like it's gonna go back up like really soon, but I feel like for right now, what I want our audience to really understand is the the world is going back to normal or like whatever like normal is, and just to hone it again on like the job switching part. Um, Knowing that different how tech is kind of pushing things forward, how COVID itself kind of changed the entire like working the landscape. Really adapting to these changes is something I want people to be mindful of. Like, don't get so complacent with where you are now, just because it can literally change like that. Like as you see, 1 week we were all working inside of a, some type of office, and then we all got an email saying no one's coming back in. And that goes with the same thing with like your skills as well as the types of jobs that are coming out now. So just be mindful and do the same type of research that Chris did about what companies are doing, what jobs are coming out there. um, I think what you said on the low code no code thing is very very key, so definitely take a look at that too. But that's pretty much it, yeah, for my right move right now. And definitely go watch the Mary J. Blige doc too.
that's
I'm
right.
gonna
So
check that out.
don't be complacent and watch the Mary Doc. So again, this was a great episode. I know we had a couple of episodes with guests. Again, we are testing things out along the way. We love the reception. We still have the clips to show and share, but the full episodes are available on YouTube. So please subscribe, follow, share, and comment. Risk Reward Show. You check us out on IG as well, and you start to see a few clips on Spotify as well.
You can
Thank
check
you
out the
again
full
for
show
joining.
on Spotify.
Yes. All right. All right. Looking forward to that. So let's keep this momentum going. And again, for all of you supporters, you have a chance of joining us for a little celebration during the summer.
Hmm.
It's actually a celebration or two or three. Um, and again, we can't wait to celebrate with you in person our successes in our career, in our businesses, in our media ventures. So again, we're here to help find the upside, and we're gonna help celebrate finding the upside
Say that
later this
again.
summer. So see you all next week, and thank you again.
All right. Peace.